In the world of Neosea, the island nation of Icy projects an image of absolute perfection. If you look at their navy, you see a massive fleet gliding seamlessly over these jagged coastal reefs. That impossible clearance comes from a highly guarded resource, sorewood. It's a timber so buoyant it allows Icean shipwrights to plate their vessels in dense iron forged in the Tilung Mountains, all while keeping a draft shallow enough to sail where heavier enemy ships would sink. This physical discipline mirrors their social structure. At the top of this rigid pyramid sat the emperor and noble families, completely separated from the commoners and merchants confined to the bottom. Everyone has an exact place, and movement is strictly controlled. Above all, they enforce the Bushido Code. Public life is defined by fierce, aesthetic serenity. You see this most clearly in the Onagami, warrior monks who dedicate their lives to martial mastery and spiritual restraint, protecting the empire's sacred shrines. Issei deliberately broadcasts this image of an untouchable, honorable superpower. It acts as a psychological deterrent, signaling to the chaotic, warring islands of Neosea that any attack will be met with flawless, unified resistance. We can see this discipline by looking at this map of Kotoyo, the Isle of Whispers. Up here in the northern forested regions, the architecture is entirely acoustic. Monastic orders practice silent traditions, ensuring their buildings harmonize with the rustling bamboo. But the rest of the world does not value silence. Across the sea, the island of Demogo mass-produces black powder artillery. Trans-regional mercenary guilds export heavily armored shock troops to the highest bidder. How does a society obsessed with tea ceremonies, acoustic harmony, and the strict rules of dueling survive an invasion from a mechanized, industrialized military? They survive because of what lies beneath the water. Deep off the coast of Koto, inside a submerged trench known as the Rift, sits a massive repository of perfectly preserved gold bars. Issei holds an absolute monopoly on these underwater vaults. They use this endless supply of capital to outspend every other nation, underwriting their pristine cities and purchasing overwhelming coastal security. That security held until the Dal arrived. The Dal are an aquatic people born with webbed limbs and an immunity to deep-sea pressure. They simply swam past Issei's traditional underwater defenses, diving deeper than any Isseian guard could survive, and began extracting the gold themselves. This economic breach terrified the Isseian elite. Fighting for control of the vaults triggered the devastating First and Second Rift Wars. The empire was dragged into a grueling, multi-year conflict that drained their resources and heavily bombarded their coastlines. The wars proved that honor and standard military formations could not protect their financial lifeblood against unconventional threats. To keep the gold, Issei had to adapt how it fought. They developed a doctrine of shadow warfare. Issei needed a way to violently eliminate rivals and reclaim their stolen wealth without ever breaking their public facade of perfect honor. The solution came from the emperor himself. He deployed the Blue Legion, a highly effective covert military force operating entirely outside the official navy. It was the Blue Legion's off-the-books intervention, not the regular samurai, that finally crushed the enemy coalition in the First Rift War. The nobility uses the exact same playbook. Take the Ashen Tide, a ruthless band of coastal raiders. The Isseian government officially condemns them as outlaws, but behind closed doors, noble families quietly fund their operations. These outlaws are actually pawns. The nobles hire the Ashen Tide to intercept rival gold shipments and sabotage political opponents. The pirates do the dirty work, and the noble houses keep their reputations completely clean. The pristine society you see on the surface is a luxury paid for by the underworld. Issei survives because it outsources its necessary violence and theft to factions that can easily be denied. This rigid control extends past the military and directly into their faith. In Neosea, deities do not physically exist. The sea spirits, the pantheon, and the emperor's semi-divine status are entirely constructed. The religion is a meticulously engineered piece of statecraft. By framing the emperor as a living god, the state ensures absolute, unquestioning loyalty. It creates a psychological framework where political rebellion is treated as a spiritual failing. Forcing citizens to live in constant, perfect restraint takes a severe toll. On Koto, this manifests as hollow drift, a pervasive depressive state caused by the crushing weight of public expectations.
frequently ending with citizens quietly walking into the Silver Lakes. This internal conflict is documented in their mythology. Look at this image of Korume, the split spine, literally divided into light and dark halves. They worship Korume to confront the agonizing tension of living a divided life. Issei's dominance doesn't come from ancient honor or flawless purity. Their real superpower is a masterful, ruthless pragmatism. They have built an empire by playing the serene purist in the daylight, while reigning as the ultimate realist in the shadows.